The Georgia Bulldogs are 4-0 to start the 2022 season. But of course, if you follow Georgia football and recruiting, you know that recruiting never stops. Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs picked up a massive commitment yesterday. 4-star wide receiver Tyler Williams. If you've been watching these videos, if you've been on Dog Post, you knew this was coming weeks ago, actually months ago. So not a surprise there. One of the top wide receivers, not only in the state of Florida, but in the South, committing to the Bulldogs yesterday over Miami. Still some, ways to go on the offensive side of the football in the 23 class, but defensively, like I've said for a while now, I do think that this could be one of the best defensive hauls that Kirby Smart has signed since he has been the head coach of Georgia. And that's saying a lot, seeing what they brought in the 2018, 2019, 2020 class on the defensive side of the ball. I still think this group could be one of the best that he signs. And that's basically what this video is all about. I'm going to talk about the offensive side of the football and recruiting in another video. But today I want to break down where things go on the defensive side of the ball. They've got plenty of talent already on the commit list, but there's still plenty of 5-star talent, other 4-star targets who I think are leaning Georgia's way. And I think this could be an outstanding class. I do think Georgia will probably sign another top 3 class, maybe push for the #1 recruiting class in the country if they get their remaining targets. So this video, of course, is about defense. So let's get started. Let's start on the defensive line. Of course, they've got 3 commitments right now. Headliner is, of course, Jamal Jarrett, 6'6", 340-pounder on the interior out of North Carolina. This is the next Jordan Davis type. He's a guy who clogs the middle of the line of scrimmage, eats up blocks, helps in the run game, allows the linebackers behind them to make plays and roam free. He's a guy who is, can get after the passer, but he's going to help stop the run. And depending on how he develops when he first gets to campus, we'll see how early he plays. But this is the anger of the defensive line in this class, and he's a good one. They also have 7 Cloud on board. This is a guy who I don't think will end up in Georgia's class. He was one of the first guys to commit in the 23 class in this cycle. Has bounced around a few high schools, was ineligible at one point. Dude has got to play football at the end of the day. I think he will open up his recruitment. I think Georgia just has a lot of other guys at that position that they would rather bring in instead of him. So they do have Jamal Jarrett at defensive tackle, that nose guard spot. They have 7 Cloud, but I don't think that he is going to be in this class come December. Gabe Harris, outside linebacker, edge defender, was at Valdosta, actually was at Thomas County Central, then went to Valdosta, was ruled ineligible. Now he is at IMG Academy. 6'4", 240, an explosive pass rusher. Size, length, burst, quickness off the ball. He's a guy who can do it all. They are happy to have him on board. So 2 and I guess 1 really in Jamal Jarrett on the interior. Gabe Harris on the edge. Who are these other targets? They still want to bring it, I think, at least 2 on the defensive line. James Smith, 5-star defensive tackle, one of the best defenders in the country out of Montgomery. I think he's trending away from Georgia right now. Always said this was a Georgia-Alabama battle. I think he is leaning towards Alabama right now. Jordan Hall out of Jacksonville. He's a guy who is climbing the rankings across the country more and more. Big old dude. Looks like he's 25 years old. He's a game wrecker. He's another guy who I think would benefit playing next to a guy like Jamal Jarrett. Quick off the ball, strong, just gets off blocks with ease, can live in the backfield. He looks the part already, and his best football is ahead of him. I think Georgia leads Florida State for him. And again, I think he's going to creep into that top 100, in the country, and maybe top 75, top 50 when it's all said and done. The Georgia staff likes him a lot, does not talk much about his recruitment at all, but I do think Georgia is the team to beat for him. I think that'll be more of a signing day decision, but if they land Jordan Hall to go next to Jamal Jarrett, that is an outstanding interior defensive line duo right there. Tamarian Parker, another edge guy who might be able to slide inside, plays out of Central High School in Phoenix City, Alabama, former Penn State commitment, told me at one time that Georgia was his #1 school. They were the leader in his recruitment. I think if Georgia wants him, they're going to land him right now. I think he's a little further down their recruiting board. I think they have others ahead of him, guys like Marcus Deal, a 4-star defensive tackle. who could play, that three technique as well. Out of Texas, 6'4", 290 pounds, bigger than Tamarian Parker. He took his official visit to Georgia this past weekend. He's a guy who I think if Georgia pushes for him, I think they've got a real shot to beat out teams like Oklahoma, TCU, Arkansas, and I think a couple others, maybe USC. I think it's his fifth school that he took an official visit to. So he's a guy out of Texas that I think the Georgia fans need to keep a close eye on. So Tamarian Parker, a guy who I don't think has a real spot in Georgia's class right now. Maybe he does in December, but he's a guy who is open in his recruitment, not committed to Penn State anymore, but I don't think he's going to be in this class. Marcus Deal is a guy to know, and so is Samuel Mpemba, five-star edge defender, has family from West Africa, grew up in St. Louis. He now plays at IMG Academy, played multiple positions throughout his high school career. But due to his length, talent, athleticism, I think he's like 6'4", about 240, maybe 250 right now. I don't have his exact height and weight in front of me, but he's a guy who looks the part, can get after the quarterback, and he's a five-star for a reason. I think Georgia is the team to beat there. Was in Athens back in April for G-Day. He was in Athens for the Samford game earlier this month, and he's going to be in Columbia, Missouri to watch Georgia take on the Tigers, and he's not there to watch Missouri, I can tell you that. So he'll be in attendance. Georgia does not play in Athens this weekend. They do play at Missouri, but he's going to be there in the stands watching Georgia's defense, try to wreak havoc against Missouri in person. So he is a five-star edge defender who I think Georgia leads for, and right now sources are saying that Georgia kind of has a commanding lead for him. Match him with Gabe Harrison, you have two of the best edge defenders in the country committed. So that's where things kind of look on the defensive line right now. At linebacker, they've got their three guys, Raylan Wilson out of Tallahassee, extremely fast, can cover, can run and hit. He's a top 50 player in the country in my eyes. Troy Bowles, of course, his father is the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, instinctual guy who grew up around the game of football. He's going to be an excellent player. And then C.J. Allen, one of the best two-way players in the state of Georgia, runs really well for about 6'2", 220 pounds. Knows how to hit. He's tough. He's physical. Smart kid, very bright. And he's an excellent running back right now for Lamar County. He's going to suit up and play middle linebacker at Georgia. And I think he has the ability to be a big-time player with NFL potential. So they've got their three linebackers, and that's probably the best trio of linebackers that anyone is going to sign in the country. So they're all set there. In the secondary, A.J. Harris, one of the top cover corners in the country. Length, ball skills, he's technically sound. He's a kid out of Phoenix City, Alabama, but considers himself a Georgia native right outside of Columbus. So they've got a five-star corner. They've got a borderline five-star, Janelle Aguero. At safety, another guy who can hit, and he's going to take a great angle to the football. He can help in coverage in the back end, but he's a safety who's going to come down and pop you and help out in the run game. So one of the best cover corners on the commit list, A.J. Harris. Janelle Aguero, another one of the best safety prospects in the country committed. Daniel Harris out of Miami is a guy who his ranking is only going to improve more and more. Another guy who can run with length and size at 6 foot, one of the fastest defensive backs in the area down there in South Florida, one of the most talented, rich areas in the country. So they have him on board. Justin Rhett, a versatile guy who can play some safety. I think we'll probably end up at safety in Athens. We'll see if they keep him on board. You just never know with these out-of-state kids, especially come signing day. Other schools start calling late. But right now he is firmly committed to Georgia. Plays cornerback. I think he's going to move to safety just with the size and the depth that they have at cornerback. I think he's more suited to play safety. So they've got four defensive backs committed right now. Chris Peel, 6 foot, 175 pounds. He's the fifth guy that I do believe they would want to bring in this class, and he's a guy who the staff is very high on. They're going to have to beat out teams like South Carolina, Michigan, NC State, but another kid with size, length, and who can run. He's got a vertical, excellent track and field kid, so loves the game of football, plays the ball well. He's tough, he's physical, and just has everything that Fran Brown wants in a defensive back. So that's kind of where things are shaping up. If they land their remaining guys, Sam and Pemba, maybe James Smith, but if they don't get James Smith, of course, Jordan Hall is a guy who is going to be an immediate impact guy, I think, in my mind. And again, they've got the linebackers. If they add Chris Peel in that secondary, you're looking at one of the best defensive hauls across the country, without a doubt. So I'm going to talk about the offense, that side of the recruiting board, in another video, but just want to talk about the defense a little bit and explain how talented these guys are, not only on the commit list, but still have the ability to commit to Georgia very soon. At the end of the day, again, I think this will be one of the best defensive classes in the country, and you can read more about that over on Dog Post. Guys, thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I will see you over on the website.